Ilia Topuria will still be UFC featherweight champion at the end of 2025.
Yeah, I don't think that's an overreaction at all. I think if you look at the landscape, right, he came in, he beat Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, who I think are the two guys that even if you were to take a step back now and say which guys, if he went head to head with anybody, who would have the greatest chance of beating him, I would say it would be those two guys. Diego Lopez is a fresh face there, but I'm not necessarily sure that he is as proven in certain ways like Max and Alex are. So I don't think that's an overreaction at all. I think we could, for a rare instance in 2024, 2025, see a guy that's able to hold the title for a year. We don't see, this isn't 10 years ago where that used to happen with pretty much every champion. You'd have these long reigns. Now it's like very rare for a fighter to kind of hold the title for longer than a year. So with all that being said, I do think Ilia is special. He's young. He seems to be improving. And the fact that he's already knocked off the two guys that I still think are probably, I think most of us would say, are the toughest fighters and challenges in that division, I don't think that's an overreaction at all.
That's the thing, man. I mean, that's the thing for me. If you look at the division after Volkanovski and Holloway, it's Diego Lopez, who you mentioned, Yair Rodriguez, Movsar Evloev, Brian Ortega, Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett, Aljo's at number 9. Obviously came up for bantamweight. I mean, who among that crop really would have the best chance next year? The key is next year. Who would have the best chance next year among that crop if they get a chance?
Yeah, I mean, Diego and Aljo at least provide maybe a little bit of a different challenge for him. So that obviously we know styles make fights. I think both those guys, their grappling abilities, Diego Lopez, everybody knows him because of his hands that he's been showing off in these fights, but it's really high-level black belt. I mean, he's Alexa Grasso's coach for a reason in jiu-jitsu, and then you got Aljo and the skill set that he brings that isn't always pretty, but relentless wrestling. So I think those are two, in terms of the style department, that would be interesting for me. But outside of that, I mean, he's going to have such an advantage, I think, on especially with Aljo on the feet. And then, I think Diego's a little more well-rounded, but I would have to go with Topuria, I think, at this point in time. So I don't know, man. It's tough. It sounds like we're going to get the Volkanovski rematch next, which I have mixed feelings about it. I understand giving a legend his due. I always thought Jose Aldo, he got iced by McGregor, and it was at a time where champions were always getting rematches. He never got his. So I hate to be kind of contradictory to the way that I've always said things, but seeing Volk get knocked out 2 consecutive fights and then kind of be in a rematch that when there's other contenders I don't love. So it's going to be an interesting 2025, but maybe it's recency bias. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid of the Ilia Topuria here, but like, to me, I think that I don't see anybody that can beat him.
I mean, listen, dude, last week on this show, Fada and I were talking about some of the cringe stuff that he was saying leading up to this fight. And I mean, when you go out, though, and you back it up, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care how cringe you are. If you back it up, dude, you back it up. And Ilia Topuria, with everything that he said coming into this fight and then declaring that he was going to knock out Max Holloway, told him at the weigh-ins to his face that he was going to be the first one to knock him out during their last face-off. To follow through on that, dude, I'll eat crow. I'll eat crow. Count me in. The Topuria era is here. And let me tell you something, dude. There's been nobody at 145 who's had power like Topuria probably since Conor McGregor 8-9 years ago. And that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary for the rest of this division. Final word, Nolan.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. He did the same thing with Volkanovski too. Like, he kind of bullied him a little bit about being old. And, I know Volk leaned into it with the whole the promo video he did for his betting company or whatever that was, and then the cane at the press conference. But it held true. I mean, when you talk smack, I think you open yourself up to be a victim of trash talk when it doesn't go your way. But if it does go your way, what are people going to say? You said you were going to do something, you did it. And I appreciate Topuria. Like, I think it's pretty evident he's doing this to sell fights. Like, he's been, after the fact, nothing but respectful to both these guys. I know Holloway and Volk both said the same thing. They're big fans of his and the way he's treated them after the fights and whatnot. So I get it. You got to say stuff to sell stuff in 2025. But just a tremendous, tremendous full package fighter right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We agree there. We expect Ilia Topuria to be the champion at the end of 2025, but we will see how it unfolds.
MMA Junkie AI.